how your daily mind decides whether you can follow the light. Have you ever quietly wondered, late at night when everything becomes silent, who or what will appear in front of you at the very last moment of your life? When you take that final breath and the world begins to fade, will you really see a holy being coming to receive you, or will everything simply disappear into darkness and confusion? And if some radiant presence does appear, will you be able to follow it with confidence, or will your own fear, attachment, and confusion pull you away like a powerful current, dragging a small boat off course? Welcome back to the channel, my friend. I am truly glad you are here, because today we are going to talk about something that everyone will face, but almost no one dares to look at directly. The moment of death, what you may encounter there, and why the key to that whole experience is not hidden in some mysterious place above the clouds, but is quietly being shaped by your own heart. Right now, in this very ordinary moment, as you listen to these words, we are going to explore a question that has been asked for centuries. Will you really see the Buddha or a being of light at the end of your life? And if such a presence comes, will you recognize it, trust it, and follow it, or will you hesitate, doubt, panic, and be pulled back into the storm of your own untrained mind? The teaching behind the original article tells us something very direct. The critical factor is not what happens at the last second, but how you have been living, thinking, feeling, and choosing in every small moment before that last second arrives. In other words, the one who meets death is the same one you are practicing to be right now. And the way you train your mind today is exactly the way you will respond at that mysterious border between this life and whatever comes next. So let us talk about this like close friends having a long and honest conversation. Not in cold theory, but through stories, images, and very human situations that you can feel in your chest, because this is not just a topic about religion or philosophy. It is really a topic about what kind of person you are becoming and where that inner direction may lead you when everything else falls away. Imagine for a moment a simple hospital room in the middle of the night. The fluorescent lights are dimmed, a heart monitor is quietly beeping, and an old woman is lying in bed surrounded by two of her children. Her breathing is shallow, sometimes long, sometimes interrupted, and the doctor has already told the family that he is close to the end. On the surface, everything appears calm. The nurse walks in and out. The son is gently holding his mother's hand. The daughter is wiping tears from her eyes. But inside the old woman's mind, a very different movie is playing. For her, the walls of the room have already begun to melt. Time no longer feels steady. Memories from childhood, youth, motherhood, and old age are rising like waves, crashing and disappearing again. Faces, voices, places, regrets, joys, all mixing together in a strange and powerful stream. In the middle of this inner storm, something else begins to rise, a sense that he is being called from far away, not by a voice he can hear with her physical ears, but by a deep, gentle pull that he can feel in her heart, like an invisible hand. Now imagine that this woman spent her whole life sincerely, though imperfectly, turning her mind toward compassion, kindness, and faith. Maybe he often repeated a simple sacred name when he walked, cooked, or cleaned. Maybe he would quietly think of a figure of wisdom and light whenever he felt afraid. Maybe he would offer a small prayer for others whenever he heard a siren on the street. Maybe he forgave more than he held grudges, and even when he lost her temper, he apologized and tried to correct herself. Because of this, her mind has been tuned again and again to a certain inner frequency, like a radio that has been carefully adjusted to a station of trust and devotion. So now, in the moment when her body is weakening and her senses are fading, what naturally appears in that inner sky of the mind is exactly the strongest, most familiar pattern he has cultivated through her life. In her case, it may appear as a golden presence at the foot of her bed, or as a being sitting on a lotus, or as a simple but overwhelmingly kind light that seems to know her completely and love her without condition. He may feel that this presence has been with her all along, quietly waiting, patiently observing her journey, never forcing, only inviting. Or someone like her, the moment of death may feel like stepping into the arms of a long-awaited friend. He may still feel a bit of fear as the body shuts down, because the instinct to cling to life is strong. But the trust he has planted over and over again in daily life acts like a bridge. He can step onto it. And so, when that luminous presence calls, he can say in her heart, "I'm ready, I come," and her consciousness follows that call. Now imagine another scenario, in another room, maybe not in a hospital, but in a house where an older man lays dying on a bed he has slept in for years. All his life, he chased money, reputation, and control. He rarely thought about death. He believed that as long as he worked hard and outsmarted others, he would be safe. Whenever he saw someone suffer, he would quickly turn away or blame them, saying things like they are weak, they are lazy, they deserve it. He was often suspicious of others' intentions, quick to anger, slow to forgive. His mind, day after day, was trained in the direction of competition, fear, pride, and attachment to possessions. Now his body is failing, his breath is rough, his heart is tired, and his mind begins to loosen its grip on the world. But what rises in that mind, unlike the old woman, is not a gentle presence of love, but a tangle of fear, regret, anger, and clinging. He may see images of people he harmed. He may feel pulled by unfinished grudges. He may panic about losing his house, his bank accounts, his status. Even in his semi-conscious state, his thoughts might be shouting, "This is mine. I cannot leave this. What will happen to my name? Will people forget me? Will others take what is mine?" That stormy inner landscape, even if a luminous presence of wisdom appears, it may be very hard for him to recognize it. He could feel its call like a soft voice in the distance, but his attention is so locked on to his old patterns that he cannot turn toward it. It is as if a rescuer is extending a hand from a boat in a flood, but the drowning person is clinging so tightly to a sinking log that he refuses to let go, even though the log cannot save him. This image is painful, but it shows something important. The presence of guidance at the moment of death is one side of the story. The other side is whether your mind has been trained to recognize and follow that guidance. The teaching we are exploring says very directly that the Buddha coming to receive you is not like a stranger suddenly knocking at your door out of nowhere. It is more like a deep inner resonance that you have been cultivating for years. If you have spent your life turning your heart toward wisdom and compassion, then at the last moment, that inner direction becomes your road, clear and almost automatic. But if you have spent your life turning your heart toward greed, aggression, and fear, then at the last moment, you will naturally be pulled in that same direction. This is the law of cause and effect working at the most intimate level, not as a punishment, but as a simple echo of all the chases that came before. Any spiritual teachings compare the mind to a field and every thought, word, and action to a seed. If you keep planting seeds of kindness, patience, and trust, the field eventually grows into a garden that feels like a safe, supportive place to live. But if you plant seeds of jealousy, anger, and resentment, the field becomes a dense, thorny forest full of shadows, and when you walk through it, you are constantly scratched and frightened. The moment of death, you do not suddenly step onto a completely new field. Instead, the field of your mind is revealed in a very concentrated way, and it is that field you begin to walk through when the body is no longer your home. So when we ask, will I see the Buddha or light or some guide at the end, we are really also asking, what kind of seeds am I planting in my consciousness right now? And what kind of inner world am I going to wake up into once the physical sense is shut down? Let us step back and think of it through a more modern image, the image of a radio receiver. Imagine that the whole universe is full of countless frequencies, from the coarse vibrations of anger and fear to the very fine vibrations of compassion, wisdom, and awakened presence. These frequencies are all there, like stations on a radio dial. Some are noisy and harsh, some are smooth and uplifting, some are subtle and peaceful. They do not appear only at death, they are here all the time. But your personal mind is like a radio that can only tune into the station whose frequency matches its own. If your mind is habitually vibrating with fear and suspicion, you mainly pick up the stations of fear and suspicion. Even if a pure, compassionate frequency is broadcasting all around you, you may barely notice it because your inner tuner is pointed elsewhere. When you train your mind through daily practice, whether it is meditation, recitation, reflection, or sincere acts of service, you are actually adjusting this inner tuner. Slowly, over months and years, your default station shifts, maybe from harsh self-hatred to gentle self-acceptance, from constant anxiety to a deeper sense of trust, from harsh judgment of others to more curiosity and empathy. And then, when the body reaches its end, your radio does not suddenly change all its settings. It continues exactly with the frequency you have most deeply established. If that frequency harmonizes with the frequency of an awakened being, then the connection is natural, like two instruments playing in tune. They find each other. The Buddha coming to receive you in this understanding is not separate from your own awakened potential responding from outside. It is deeply connected with the quality you have cultivated inside. You might say, this all sounds inspiring but also a bit abstract. Can we bring it down even further into very ordinary human stories? Let us walk through a few more. Picture a middle-aged man named Daniel who never considered himself very spiritual when he was young. He was busy building a career, chasing achievements, and trying to prove himself. But in his 40s, he experienced a series of losses. His father died, his marriage broke apart, and his health began to show some cracks. For the first time, he was forced to confront his own vulnerability. He could not control everything. He could not guarantee that the people he loved would stay. He could not guarantee that his body would always obey his plans. First, he reacted with anger and denial, but eventually he realized that this way of fighting reality was only making him more miserable. Friend invited him to a meditation class, and although he felt skeptical, he decided to go. In that small room, sitting on a cushion, watching his breath, he discovered something both uncomfortable and strangely hopeful. He saw that his mind was full of noise, but he also tasted small gaps of silence. He saw how quickly he judged others, but he also noticed a tiny spark of compassion that rose when he remembered that everyone else had their own struggles. Over the next decade, he began a quiet but sincere journey. He was not perfect, he still lost his temper, he still made mistakes, but he made a commitment to keep returning to awareness again and again. Whenever he fell, he began to apologize more easily, to listen more deeply, to volunteer at a shelter once a week, and to reflect on the impermanence of life, not in a dark way, but as a reminder to cherish each day. When he reached his 60s, he was diagnosed with a serious illness, and the doctors said, "We can try treatment, but we cannot promise how much time you have." To the surprise of his younger relatives, Daniel did not collapse into panic. Yes, he felt fear and sadness, but alongside those emotions, there was also a quiet readiness. He told a close friend, "I have been training for this moment without realizing it. Every time I sat down to meditate when I did not feel like it, every time I chose to forgive instead of feeding a grudge, every time I remembered that this body is temporary, I was rehearsing for this. I do not know what will happen after death, but I trust that if I meet it with the same awareness and compassion I have been practicing, I will be guided where I need to go." This is an example of someone who consciously uses daily life as preparation for that last transition, not in a grim way, but in a wise and loving way. Now imagine another person. Let us call her Lily, whose grandmother was a very devoted practitioner in a traditional path. As a child, Lily used to watch her grandmother sit in front of a simple altar every evening, softly reciting a sacred name. Sometimes the grandmother's old voice would tremble, sometimes it would be strong and clear, but always there was a feeling of tenderness in the room. Lily did not understand the meaning of the words at the time, but she felt the atmosphere, the deep quiet, a sense of being held. Any years later, when the grandmother was dying, Lily was by her side. The old woman's breathing was uneven, but her eyes were calm, and her lips were still moving, silently repeating the name he had repeated for decades. Just before her last breath, he looked slightly above and beyond the ceiling, as if seeing something beautiful that no one else could see, and a faint smile appeared on her face. After he died, the room felt strangely peaceful, not empty, but full of a gentle presence. For Lily, this memory became a seed. He thought, if the practice my grandmother held on to so deeply can give her such peace at the end, maybe there is something real in it. He began her own exploration, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. Stories like this are not rare. Many families in many different cultures and traditions have witnessed similar scenes. Some people leaving with fear, some with clinging, some with anger, but others with a kind of luminous calm, as if they are walking through a door into another room rather than being thrown into a dark void. If we listen deeply, the difference is often related to how they lived, what they believed in, and how they trained their hearts. Some people ask, is the vision of a Buddha or light at the moment of death just a comforting illusion created by the brain, or is it an actual encounter with a real presence? Different people will answer this differently depending on their background, but for the purpose of our reflection, we can say this: whether you believe the Buddha is external or internal, symbolic or literal, the transformation that comes from training your mind in compassion and awareness is real. It changes how you experience fear. It changes how you experience pain. It changes the trajectory of your choices. affect death, you meet a presence of light that gives you trust and courage, and your consciousness follows that into a more awakened state. Then that encounter is as real as anything else you have ever experienced. And the crucial point remains: your ability to recognize and follow that presence comes from your daily practice. Think about how you respond when something unexpected happens in ordinary life. For example, when you receive sudden bad news, maybe about a job or relationship or your health, what is your immediate reaction? Do you freeze? Do you rage? Do you collapse into despair? Or do you experience shock but then find within yourself some inner ground of trust and clarity? The truth is that the moment of death is the most extreme version of these sudden changes. If in small storms your mind is always thrown into panic without any capacity to pause and witness, then in the big storm of time, it will likely react in the same way. On the other hand, if you have spent years practicing the skill of taking one conscious breath in the middle of difficulty, of turning your attention to a deeper center even when the surface is chaotic, then at the time of death, those skills will be there for you, like well-trained muscles that automatically engage when you need them. You may still feel fear, but you will also know how to open to something larger than that fear. One powerful way to think about practice is to see every night as a small rehearsal for death. When you go to sleep, your waking consciousness dissolves, your thoughts slow, your sense of control drops, and you surrender into a space you cannot fully understand, the world of dreams and deep sleep. Many traditions point out that the way you fall asleep reveals something about your mental habits. If you end your day in anger, anxiety, or resentment, your sleep may be restless, filled with disturbing dreams. But if you end your day with gratitude, forgiveness, and a gentle recollection of something sacred, your mind often becomes softer, your sleep more peaceful. If you cannot guide your mind at the simple border between day and night, how will you guide it at the great border between life and death? This is not meant to scare you, but to empower you, because it means you do not have to wait for some distant future to begin preparing. You can start tonight by choosing to end your day with a few moments of stillness, perhaps softly repeating a name or a phrase that connects you with compassion, perhaps reviewing your day and consciously letting go of grudges, perhaps imagining placing your fears into the hands of a wise and loving presence. These small, consistent acts are like aligning your inner compass. Some people might object, saying, "But I have not been practicing for decades. Is it too late for me? What if I am already old or my past is filled with mistakes? Does that mean I'm doomed to confusion at death?" The answer offered by many compassionate teachings is no. It is never too late to turn your mind. Every moment you shift from self-centeredness to care, from fear to trust, from ignorance to curiosity, you are planting a new seed, and even a short period of sincere practice can have a powerful impact. Imagine a person who spent most of their life in selfishness, but in their later years, due to some powerful event, they have a genuine awakening of conscience. They realize the pain they have caused others, and they dedicate their remaining time to making amends, serving others, and cultivating humility. Their past actions do not disappear, but the force of their present sincerity can create a strong new direction. It is like a river that has been flowing one way for years, but then an earthquake opens a new channel. The water begins to turn, at first slowly, then with more and more force, until the main current flows in the new direction. The old riverbed may still exist, but the life-giving flow has moved. Similarly, if you are listening to this now, it means you still have time to shape the current of your mind. Ask yourself, in the face of death, what kind of heart do I want to have? A heart clinging in terror to everything it cannot keep, or a heart that, though sad to leave, can still open and say, I trust, I go forward. This is not about pretending that parting is easy. Even saints and sages feel sadness, but it is about strengthening the part of you that can hold that sadness within a larger space of wisdom. Other helpful reflection is to look honestly at what you are attached to. Attachment is not the same as love. You can love deeply without clinging desperately. But when you are attached, you confuse your sense of self with other things, like saying, without this person I am nothing. Without this status, I am nothing. Without this body, I am nothing. Death, all these things are taken away, at least in their current form. If your sense of identity is welded to them, the separation will feel like being torn apart. You will fight, scream, and grasp. However, through practice, you have learned to see relationships, possessions, and even your body as precious but temporary gifts, as expressions of a deeper life rather than the source of life itself. Then letting go, though still poignant, will not feel like annihilation. More like completing a chapter in a long book, turning a page, knowing the story continues. One simple exercise is to occasionally imagine losing something you value and to observe your reaction. Not to torture yourself, but to get to know your own mind. For example, imagine your favorite object breaking, your job disappearing, your reputation being misunderstood, or even your body aging and weakening. Notice the fear, sadness, or anger that rises. Then gently ask, who is it that is afraid? Who is it that is clinging? What am I most afraid of losing? Often, beneath the surface, we discover that we are really afraid of losing a certain image of ourselves, the image of being strong, being admired, being in control. When you recognize this, you can begin to loosen your grip on those images and rest more in the simple fact of being, the quiet awareness that is here before all labels and roles. This awareness does not end when a role ends. It is like the sky that remains when a cloud dissolves. Training yourself to rest in that awareness, even briefly, even imperfectly, is one of the most powerful preparations for death, because when everything familiar falls away, that awareness is still there, and if you know how to trust it, it can be your guide. Let us consider another story, this time about a nurse who has spent many years working in a hospice. He has seen hundreds of people die, some peacefully, some struggling, and over time, he begins to notice patterns. People who have unresolved conflicts, deep guilt, or unexpressed fear often become agitated in their final days. They might have disturbing dreams. They might see frightening images. They might reach into the air as if trying to push something away. People who have made peace with their past, who have expressed love to their family, who have some kind of spiritual trust, tend to be calmer. They might speak of seeing loved ones who pass before them, or of a beautiful light, or a feeling that someone kind is waiting. The nurse, even if he does not have a strong religious background herself, cannot ignore these patterns. They are too consistent. He begins to realize that the time to prepare for death is not in the final hour, when the body is failing and the mind is clouded. The time is now, when you can still think clearly, speak your truth, forgive, and practice. He shares this insight with anyone who listens, telling them, do not wait until you are lying in a hospital bed to start thinking about what really matters. Start now, by cleaning up your heart, by reconciling where you can, by nurturing a relationship with something wiser and more loving than your ordinary ego. This nurse's experience echoes the spiritual teaching we are exploring. The moment of death is like an exam, but you do not cram for it in one night. You prepare through countless small chases. When we talk about seeing the Buddha at death, we are not only referring to a particular cultural image, we are pointing to the possibility that at the end, your deepest aspiration and your deepest relationship with wisdom may appear to guide you, whether you call that presence Buddha, light, love, or simply awakened awareness. But if you have never built that relationship, if you have never turned your heart in that direction, then even if the presence appears, you might shrug it off as hallucination or feel too scared to follow. Think of it like this: if a stranger appears at your door and says, "Come with me to a place you cannot see yet," you will likely hesitate. But if a dear friend whom you have trusted for years appears and says the same, you will feel more willing to go. Daily practice is how you turn the Buddha or awakening from a stranger into a friend. Every time you silently call on that presence when you are in pain, every time you remember a teaching that brings you back to compassion, every time you offer your small acts of kindness as a gift to all beings instead of as a way to inflate your ego, you are deepening that friendship. And at the moment when your physical is close, that inner friend is not far, it is near. Some people also fear that at the end they will be judged and condemned, that a stern figure will appear to list their sins and cast them into some terrible place. This fear can be paralyzing, but from the perspective of the teaching we are discussing, a real judge is your own consciousness. The pain you feel after harming others is not imposed from outside. It is the natural consequence of seeing clearly the suffering you have contributed to. Similarly, the joy you feel from helping others is not a bribe from outside. It is the natural warmth of seeing that your actions have brought relief. If you carry a lot of unresolved harm, the moment of death can be heavy because all that truth rushes in at once. But there is also hope here, because you can begin now to lighten that load by acknowledging your mistakes, asking for forgiveness where possible, and dedicating your life forward to goodness. Heart that is sincerely committed to learning from its past and doing better is already on the path of awakening. And when such a heart meets death, it may still feel the sting of regret, but it will also feel the strong current of its new direction, pulling it toward healing. Another angle to consider is how important it is to get used to letting go. Letting go is not an abstract idea. It is a practice you can do many times a day. When you finish a meal, instead of immediately searching for the next stimulation, you can pause and simply appreciate that this moment is complete. When a thought arises during meditation, instead of chasing it, you can let it drift away. When a conversation ends, you can resist the urge to replay it again and again in your head. These little acts of letting go are like mini rehearsals for the big letting go at death. If you are someone who clutches every experience, who replays every slight, who cannot throw away an old object because of the memories attached, then death will feel like a brutal thief stealing everything. But if you have cultivated the habit of releasing, trusting, and flowing, then death can feel more like being carried by a river to a wider sea. This does not mean you become cold or detached from life. In fact, often the opposite happens. The more you accept impermanence, the more tenderly and fully you appreciate the present. You savor a conversation without needing to own the other person. You enjoy a beautiful day without feeling the need to freeze it forever. You love your family while knowing that one day you will part. And this knowledge makes your love more urgent and sincere. Heart that lives like this is already, in a way, practicing dying. And therefore, when actual dying comes, it will not be such a shock. All of this leads us back to the central message. The key to what happens at the moment of death is your usual state of mind. The spiritual teachings are not trying to scare you with images of judgment or promise you automatic rescue just because you say a few words at the end. They are inviting you to take responsibility for your consciousness now. If you wish to be able to follow a Buddha or a being of light when it appears, then start today by walking with that presence in your daily life. Call it to mind when you are angry. Ask for its guidance when you are confused. Remember its qualities when you are tempted to act from selfishness. Over time, the presence becomes more real to you, not as a fantasy, but as a living reference point for your better self. The very real sense, the Buddha you hope to see at death is the awakened aspect of your own mind, reflected back to you like a mirror. If you never polish that mirror, it remains dusty, and when you look into it, you cannot recognize what you see. But if you keep polishing through practice, through honesty, through compassion, then one day you look and realize the I seek and the awareness I am are deeply connected. That moment, the fear of death begins to loosen, because you see that what truly matters cannot be destroyed by the stopping of breath. Let us also acknowledge that facing the topic of death is not easy. We live in a culture that often hides death away in hospitals, covers it with polite phrases, and distracts itself with entertainment. But beneath all the avoidance, the fact remains that every single one of us will die. Instead of letting this truth paralyze you, you can let it wake you up. Knowing that your time is limited can give you courage to live more authentically, to stop postponing what really matters, to speak your heart, to forgive, to follow your deep calling. In this way, the contemplation of death is not morbid. It is a powerful tool for awakening. When you remember that you will die, your petty grudges begin to look less important. Your obsession with what others think of you starts to loosen. Your willingness to waste whole days on meaningless distractions decreases, because you realize every day is one less day to become who you are meant to be. So the question, will I see the Buddha at death, becomes inseparable from another question, how am I living today? If you want to be accompanied by wisdom at the end, then befriend wisdom now. If you want to feel held by compassion at the end, then practice compassion now, not only toward others but also toward yourself. If you want to be able to let go of the body with grace, then practice letting go of smaller things now. Before we close, let us speak heart to heart for a moment. Maybe you have had your own encounters with death already. Perhaps you have watched a parent, a partner, a child, or a close friend leave this world. Perhaps you have seen someone die suddenly, or hold their hand during a long illness. Those moments leave marks on the soul, and you might carry questions or fears from them. If watching others die has made you fearful, know that this fear is understandable, but also know that you are not powerless in front of your own future death. You can choose, starting today, to build a different relationship with it. You can talk about it openly with trusted people. You can reflect on it in a meditative way. You can use it as a lens to see what is truly important. Perhaps you also have had moments where, in a dream or a deep meditation, you sensed a presence of immense love, or you saw a light that felt more real than anything in waking life. Those experiences might have faded in memory, but you can revisit them now as reminders that reality is wider than your ordinary thoughts. Let them encourage you to trust that when the body falls away, you are not falling into nothing, but into a larger mystery that may be kinder than you imagine. In my own life, I have heard many stories from people who sat at the bedside of the dying. Some told me of relatives who, at the last moment, suddenly lifted their hands as if greeting someone, or spoke the names of teachers or loved ones who had died long before. Others told me of how the atmosphere in the room changed, becoming unusually peaceful. Not every story is like this, of course. Some people struggle, some are confused, but these glimpses at least suggest that something very profound and subtle happens as consciousness lets go of the body. And if that is the case, then the work of training your mind and heart is not wasted. It is the most practical preparation you can do. So as we come toward the end of this long reflection, let us gather the main thread into a simple, clear understanding. Will you really see the Buddha at the moment of death? The answer depends less on some external rule and more on the inner path you walk. If you spend your days forgetting what is sacred, clinging tightly to ego, and refusing to soften, then even if the Buddha stands before you, your eyes may be too clouded to recognize that light. If you spend your days, even imperfectly, turning toward compassion, wisdom, and awareness, then at the time of death, that direction will ripen. You will be more able to perceive and follow whatever guidance appears, whether it comes in the form of a figure of light, a deep inner knowing, or a feeling of being drawn into a peaceful realm. The question, will you follow, is answered now. In every moment you choose to follow or ignore the quiet voice of your own deeper wisdom. As we end, I invite you to take a moment to place one hand on your heart if you can, and simply feel your own breathing. This breath will one day stop, but the awareness that knows this breath is here right now. Let that awareness expand even a little. Let it become more spacious, more gentle. Silently, you might say to yourself, may I live with a mind that is ready to die, not because I want to leave, but because I am no longer clinging blindly. May I meet each day, and eventually my final day, with as much presence, love, and courage as I can. If this conversation has touched something in you, I warmly invite you to share your reflections and stories in the comments. Perhaps you have sat with someone at the end of their life. Perhaps you have had a dream or experience that changed how you view death, or perhaps you are simply starting to think about this seriously for the first time and have questions. Or sharing may be exactly what another person needs to hear to feel less alone with their fears. And if you wish to keep exploring these deep topics about awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, the mysteries of death and rebirth, and the art of living a life that prepares you for a peaceful transition, remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you do not miss future long-form explorations. If you feel moved to support this work more directly, you can also consider joining as a member, which helps us continue creating thoughtful, heart-centered content for you and for others on the path. Thank you for staying with me through this long journey of words, for opening your heart to a subject most people avoid, and for your courage in even listening. Until next time, may your days be filled with the kind of practice that will make your final moment a doorway into light rather than a fall into fear. And may the friends you wish to meet at death be the friends you walk with in your heart starting now. At the end of the day, we all need something that brings us back to ourselves. Something that reminds us to slow down, breathe, and stay centered. Simple bracelet can do exactly that. Every bead you touch brings your mind back to calm, back to clarity, back to the present moment. If one of the bracelets you just saw resonates with you, you can find the purchase link in the video description. and explore more beautiful styles in our channel store. Let the one meant for you find its way to your wrist.